We are back. We're talking about Full Gear, and we're going to start with positives because we're positive here at Make Pro Wrestling Majestic again.
Are we?
Yes. Now, I don't know how, why, or who, but the Outrunners have quickly become almost like a cult, like a cult classic.
They've become a favorite of mine.
Yeah. Their gimmick is just 70s wrestlers.
Yeah.
And people really like the antics. They have a very interesting charisma about them. I think they work pretty well as a team.
Yeah.
They need to be capitalized on, number one.
Yes, they do.
I think
they need to start moving a lot of merch.
Yes.
They need to become a money team. Because you have a money team like WWE has the New Day.
Yeah.
Like, that's a money team. Like, you can produce so much merch with this team. It's amazing.
You can definitely have there's a lot of interesting stuff, and there could be some cross-promotional stuff with this. When especially with some of the older audience, when they think wrestlers, they think this kind of a tag team.
Right.
So really promote that. Have that sort of nostalgia look.
It's kind of like Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah.
This has that vibe.
Right. I like it. I really hope they're not going to capitalize. They're just going to go right back to Collision. Yep. They probably will. But I did like this. I really saw this as a positive. MJF and Roderick Strong. It was a good match. I liked it, but it could have been more.
But the storyline is just lackluster.
Well, it went all over the place. The match originally was MJF Adam Cole. Then Roderick Strong had to win a match, and then it would be a three-way for some reason. And then if Adam Cole lost to Konosuke one of these last weeks, he would have been out of the match,
so
and then
stupid.
he lost.
Fuck, man.
But these two worked hard. They told a story in the ring.
Yeah.
I liked the match for what it was.
Yep.
It could have been better. Yeah, that's about it for that. This, once again, was a good match.
Yep.
And the right person won.
I think so, too.
They are really liking Kyle Fletcher.
Yep.
He's really starting to grow on me as a competitor.
They are trying to build him as a homegrown he's not really a homegrown talent.
Well, for singles.
Yeah, for singles, he is.
They're taking the ball and running with him. I like it. He's a younger athlete, and they really need to start looking at the future to see what you can do with it.
Yeah, I think Tommy Dreamer compared him to Randy Orton.
There are a lot of people who compared him to Randy Orton. I wouldn't say that necessarily. Randy Orton just had that talent so right off the bat.
But if they build him the right way, sure.
Yeah. But yes, I almost said Orange Cassidy for some reason.
No, Orange Cassidy has no marketable
But
value.
yes, Kyle Fletcher did win this match.
Yep.
I'm glad that he won this match.
Yep.
Will Ospreay didn't have to win, but Kyle Fletcher needed to. And
Although Will Ospreay should be in a different position than he is now.
He is. But I think maybe he'll do it now. I think he wanted to help Kyle Fletcher really get up. The Don Callis family really have become a very strong faction.
They are.
So I hate saying this because I hate Mercedes Moné, literally down to my core.
I hate this too, but it was a good match.
This was a good match. These two, I don't know, there was a chemistry about it.
There was definitely. I mean, if it was the longest match and if it was the longest women's match in AEW history, there had to be some chemistry.
Oh yeah, I really like this match a lot, and like I said, I think a lot of it was Kris Statlander because Kris Statlander is a good wrestler.
Yes, and Mercedes Moné is she's just trash.
A broken clock is right at least twice a day. Right. So
there we go.
But it is a positive.
Yeah,
it was a very good match. I did like this one a lot. It was definitely that sleeper banger.
Being the only women's match on the card. Why? You have a roster full of talented women. You only have one women's match on the card.
Oh, trust me, we'll talk about the other thing. So, and the last one is that Takeshita and Ricochet was a fine match.
Yeah.
And I loved it because it proved that Ricochet is he cannot carry shit. He lost to Konosuke, but I like Konosuke a lot.
Yes.
They continue to book him really, really well.
Yes, they are booking. I'm sure that Don Callis has something to do with the way that they're being booked right now.
Yep.
But
he has an eye for talent.
He does.
He really does.
Yeah.
I like that Lance Archer and Brian Cage are part of the Don Callis family as well. It's a very strong Don Callis family. And I hope they continue to rack up these wins because if the Konosuke and Kyle are the future of AEW, maybe there is a hope for the company. I think it'll go down in flames before they become where they need to be. But at the very least, I can enjoy for what this was. And then also Ricochet lost. So hooray, I get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Now we have to go to the bad. This show was fucking long. They started I think like at 4:00 our time.
Yeah.
We're on
West Coast.
We're on the West Coast, so a lot of our shows start earlier.
And so that means that the pre-show started at 4 and the main show started at 5:00 our time.
It didn't end until like 9:45, and
That is a long show.
That is a long show. Every match was no less than 10. I think there was one match that was
under 10 minutes. And that was, I think, the women's match.
The pre-show women's match. It was Deanna Purrazzo and
Anna Jay.
Thank you. But yeah, it was. I mean, luckily we watched it at 2x speed here. I'm glad we didn't watch it live because we were like watching the feed and people were like, God damn it, please end this shit.
Right.
I mean, the pacing of it was everywhere too.
Yeah.
That was the other thing that I was not a big fan of. But what people were like, oh my God, it's another home run. This was probably one of the weaker AEW pay-per-views in recent memory.
Yeah. The matches themselves are fine, but the storytelling leading up to these are just all over the place, and some of them just make absolutely no sense.
Exactly. The stuff with the Costco guys was just absolutely silly, but we'll cross that bridge when we come.
But it was silly. I think it was meant to be silly, though. So I don't know if I frame it as a negative necessarily, but
I think part of it of why I think it is a negative. I keep messing around with this. It's because it's the antithesis of AEW. This is not what AEW was meant to be. Exactly.
They're trying to go into the celebrity thing, which is
this is not I am not going to allow them to get away with this shit.
But what I'm saying is that the concept in of itself is not a bad thing. Wrestling has always relied on some sort of celebrity involvement. That's just the way that professional wrestling is in America.
Right.
But if they didn't want this, if they were founded on the notion that they were not going to beat WWE, then why are you copying WWE?
Exactly. That's literally the antithesis. And don't even just claim that WWE and North American wrestling are like this. It's always been like this.
Yeah, it's always been this way.
It's always been like this.
WrestleMania 1 literally had Big T in a match.
Yeah, and you can even go back to the days of Frank Gotch and George Hackenschmidt.
Right.
They were traveling strongmen in the circus with like Ringling Brothers. Yeah. They were celebrities outside of wrestling.
Right.
So, I mean, hell, Hackenschmidt was a strongman in Europe.
Yeah.
And he came to America to wrestle. So the whole cross-promotional celebrity shit it's always been there. Right. Yeah. And you're right. WrestleMania 1 with Liberace and Muhammad Ali. They were there with Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah. In fact, WrestleMania was founded on the notion that it would be a cross-promotional event with celebrities. That is literally the entire point.
Exactly. And so, I put this there because this is what AEW was never supposed to be. This is what they went against. And it's like, you dropped the ball. This is it.
This is it. Yeah.
You have crossed the path over to celebrity shit. It's like, well, what about Mike Tyson and all of that? They weren't wrestling.
Right.
They weren't wrestling a match.
Right.
So there you go. This match it felt like a jobber match. This did not feel like World Tag Team Champion.
No, it felt like just your random multi-man matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling, which it was pretty much.
Yep, exactly.
It was also the first match on the show, so there we go.
The first match on the show. This was the first tag title defense for Private Party too. Just this random amalgamation of shit.
That's kind of the MO, though.
Now, I do like them teasing the Acclaimed not being a team anymore. I think the Acclaimed have run their course. So,
think so?
Mm-hmm. I think so. They had some arguments. I think both of them could be good singles.
Yeah, maybe.
100%. I think more Anthony Bowens than Max Caster, but that we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yep.
Once again,
oh my God!
Hangman Page's heel turn has been nothing but an absolute failure. He has won one big match, and that was against Swerve Strickland. And outside of that, he has lost every single other match.
So here's what doesn't make sense to me. So he loses, and then later on the show, he confronts.
We'll cross that bridge. It's on here.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's on here. And we already had a one-on-one match without a stipulation. Why are we doing it again on pay-per-view? This is on pay-per-view again.
Because they have nothing else to do. I don't know.
This is a fine Dynamite match. Have this as the main event for Dynamite. Cool, great, awesome.
Not on pay-per-view.
This was a fucking disaster. This is the women's world champion. I'm not sure where she got this big black eye, but she had a huge black eye. The table spot was so botched, I think Mariah got hurt. Because they landed on one of the tables. It didn't break. The other one fell when they slid, and I think they clocked into the floor.
Good God, man.
This was a disaster. This was a mess. And this was in the middle of the show. And now
I thought this was at the pre-show. I could have been wrong.
No. Oh. I mean, when I was watching the show, it was smack dab right before. I think it was penultimate. No, it was before the Garcia match.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of Garcia match. Why did Daniel Garcia win this?
Right.
What part?
Why?
Right.
Why?
Jack Perry was finally starting to get into the TNT realm.
Right. He was starting to get into the groove. It doesn't make any sense why they would put on Daniel Garcia. Unless there was something in this contract that stipulated it, it made no sense to have Daniel Garcia win this.
Right. And now
what?
Right. Other than Okada, I think everybody within the Elite have lost all of their titles. And Okada is, once again, where the fuck is Okada?
Right.
Isn't he not the Rainmaker? Wasn't he like one of those huge signings that they were jerking off to? And now it's like Continental Champion, not even showing up on TV for at least 2 weeks.
Right. Again, mess. Absolute mess.
This match was fucking boring.
Yeah.
This was a lame match. Yeah. I have no idea what happened. It was dead.
Well, what happened was they had Bobby Lashley in an unannounced handicap match.
Yeah, on Dynamite.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, okay, we already seen it. All right. And then this, I'm like...
who the fuck cares?
I so clocked out after this match. I have no idea why. And finally, the ending of this pay-per-view was a fucking clusterfuck. I have never seen... This could have been the worst ending of an AEW pay-per-view I have ever seen.
Wow. And we've seen every single AEW pay-per-view.
Every single one. We were at the first one. We were literally there for the first one at the first Double or Nothing. This was that bad.
Ouch. Yeah, it was. It made no sense. And then you have fucking Hangman Page coming out. Is he all of a sudden babyface now?
Right. And then with Christian Cage, at least he had the little contract thingy. And then Jay White comes out. What the fuck Jay White has to do with any of this, I have no idea.
Fuck, man.
It's the lamest ending ever. It made the entire match look meaningless.
Right, and then Orange Cassidy's just noped out of existence.
Thank God. This was an experiment that failed.
Yes, it was. I'm sorry, Orange Cassidy is not John Cena.
No, he is not. Once again, Darby Allin. You have a couple of strong contenders here. Kenny Omega returning is helpful.
Yep.
You can do Omega. You can do Ospreay. You can do Allin. If Jay White picks up more wins, he is a babyface. You could do Jay White.
I don't even know. I have no idea.
He's like a pseudo babyface.
Yeah.
I don't even know. He's Jay White. I like Jay White. I like Jay White a lot, but there's a lot of work to do with him.
Yep.
So that was Full Gear. I'm going to give it an Orange Cassidy thumbs down.
Yeah,
it was just sort of there.
It was just there. Again, most of the matches were great. It was just crap storytelling.
Yep, crap storytelling, and that ending just was a wet fart in church for me. So when we come back, we are going to watch the Cookie Guy match.
The Cookie Guy match.